Hello and welcome to another Blast from the Past episode of Below the Title. I'm Robert.
And I'm Taylor, and today we're talking Top Secret. Top Secret came out in 1984 and is one of those Zucker brothers Abrams comedies that they were quite well known for in that era. This one was made after the success of Flying High and its sequel.
Airplane is what everyone's going to know.
Or Airplane as it's called in the States. And now popping up in a shit in Australia is Airplane as well.
Well, that is the original title.
It is the original title, but I wonder why they changed it here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And stars Val Kilmer. And it's Val Kilmer's first lead role. I think it's pre-ego Val Kilmer at that.
Because it was only a couple of years later he was in Top Gun.
And then 10 years later, they made The Island of Dr. Moreau.
The infamous.
But we like Val. Val's always been good value. And in this, he knocks it out of the park. He's clearly having a lot of fun.
It's a parody of World War II spy films and Elvis films.
It is. It's set after World War II, even though it's a send-up of World War II films. And it has 50s and 60s rock and roll sensibilities mixed in there. And then in the middle of it takes off and takes the piss out of the Blue Lagoon.
Then we busied ourselves chopping palm fronds and lacing them to bamboo with dried seaweed and snot. This not only provided us with a safe haven from the rain, but sheltered us from the relentless Santa Ana winds, which would periodically ravage the island.
It was East Germany, but it was clearly supposed to be Nazi Germany.
And it does have the East German women's Olympic team. See, could you do that these days? If you start poking holes and things like that, I reckon people would get too up to, oh, you can't do that. Safe comedy doesn't work.
So Val Kilmer plays a kind of basically an Elvis-style 50s American rock star.
Nick Rivers.
Who's brought over to East Germany, which is portrayed very much as like a Hitler-type Germany. And he's going to perform in a cultural event. And he then gets mixed up with the underground resistance movement who are trying to rescue a scientist.
Yes. She's played by Michael Gough. And then 10 years later, they would be Batman and Alfred. I was like,
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so it's a pretty basic plot.
I'm not the first guy who fell in love with a girl he met in a restaurant who then turned out to be the daughter of a kidnapped scientist, only to lose her to a childhood lover who she'd last seen on a deserted island and who turned out 15 years later to be the leader of the French underground.
I know it. It all sounds like some bad movie.
Filled with...
But you don't watch these things for a plot.
It's a lot of references, a lot of play on words. It's a lot of just visual gags, just unexpected things. You know, the opposite happens of what you'd expect.
You need to be looking in the background of so many shots, especially in a Zucker film, because there is so much going on, and the jokes are thick and fast. Sure, you might miss one in one shot, but there's going to be another one in the next shot. And
on repeated viewings, you'll always pick up on something else each time you watch it.
I actually picked up on stuff I think I'd never seen when I watched it for this. I've been watching Top Secret for 30 years. And it goes to show, I mean, it still makes you laugh now. I mean, it at the time, it didn't do great.
No.
It was seen as a flop. But the fact that it's still just as funny today.
I felt about half an hour in, I felt the laugh sort of picked up a bit. There were some really funny moments. Obviously, the scene that people know the most is the backwards scene in the bookshop.
Can you imagine going to Peter Cushing, and saying, all right, we're going to have a scene where you have a giant eye. We're going to film it all backwards for no reason whatsoever.
It was the mask they made of his face to make that appliance that was in storage, and then they used that when they needed to recreate him for Rogue One.
Yeah, that's how they did the Tarkin in Rogue One. There's some real set pieces in this. There's that.
There's the underwater bar fight.
Like, it's really well done. There isn't really much of a plot and there's no ending to speak of.
No.
But it doesn't matter because these guys are just clearly having a good time. What can we do next? Oh, I know, we'll get Omar Sharif in this thing. Can you imagine when they went to Omar Sharif and we want you to be in this movie, but this is what happens and we're going to blow cigars up in your face. And we're going to have a scene where you're in a compressed car, which ends on a tit joke.
There's also a number of short or little things being little.
Oh, I'm sorry, I really don't know any German.
That's all right. I know a little German. He's sitting over there. Is he all right?
Oh, he caught a cold the other day, and he's just a little hoarse.
Who are you? We were sent by Sven Jorgensen.
Come this way.
And stupid things like sound effects. You know, like when he drinks the gasoline.
What the hell is this stuff?
Gasoline.
I did like all the names of all the resistance fighters.
This is Chevalier, Montage, Détente, Avant-Garde, and Déjà Vu.
Have we not met before, monsieur?
I don't think so.
Those sort of jokes are, when you get to it, you know what they're going to say next, but they're still funny. It's very, Simpsons was very much like that when they were in the first few seasons, when they were good. You can predict the joke, but it's done so well that it's still very funny.
Well, I think the secret to these movies is the deadpan. Leslie Nielsen was the master of it, but in this one, everything is just delivered.
What is the condition of Sergeant Kruger? Yes, I see. Well, let me know if there's any change in his condition. He's dead.
And there's also Klaus, the moron.
Who knows only what he reads in the New York Post.
And the bit where she's on the balcony and she looks down and into the street. That's a model from Superman that was lying around the studio and they went, let's use that.
That did get me when the mouse or hamster or whatever, it just comes flying in.
See, that's the sort of thing. Like, this is filmmaking where they're going in going, obviously, clearly, a bunch of guys are just going, let's just have some fun. And they do things like that. And it comes across.
Because it's not just silly jokes. There's a lot of really surreal jokes. Like early on when they're at the train station, it's the platform that's moving. But then afterwards, the guy looks out the window and there's a guy trying to chase a tree, to catch a tree.
And it's just a quick throwaway gag. Comedy isn't like this anymore.
This sort of genre went on for quite a few years, but it got worse and worse.
And they ran it into the ground with the date movie era.
More recent films like the Scary Movie, I mean, they were a little while ago, but the Scary Movie films, they just, I don't know, I think they just missed the mark. Like it just, that late 70s, early 80s when they were doing Airplane and the Naked Gun films, I mean, that went into the 90s, but those sort of films, they just, I don't know, it just, they just got the balance right.
Maybe it's just because it was a more chilled time in the studio system. These days, films have expectations and the marketing people want to use their points to leverage. And back then it would have been like, well, what it cost? $8 million.
But it came in, under,
and it came in at 7
or something.
But they would have just gone, here's some money. You made us a fortune in Flying Dog. Go have some fun. And they did. I think also nowadays, and probably in the later films of this style, they were probably trying to, I don't know, do too many just over-the-top, gross-out type jokes. Yeah, I think that this movie didn't have any gross-out moments in it. And I see, Something About Mary was where that came in. Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, they were sort of different. They were good comedies in their own right.
Yeah, but this has an innocence to it.
Yeah.
With the jokes. I mean, there's a few boob jokes in this one. Although, there is the bit with the bull.
You okay? Let's go. What's the hurry?
The fact that they got a cow in gumboots with painted black spots on it.
They got a cow, painted black spots on it. And apparently cows don't like things on their feet. So if you look, the bottom of it's cut out and they Velcroed it to its feet. There's one shot, like when he's cracking the safe and he's got the cigarette and it makes it look like the cow smokes it.
Let's not forget the anal intruder.
Our surgeons did what they could, but it took them 2 hours just to get the smile off his face.
The box.
Yeah, the happy couple. Okay, if this sort of film was made today, do you think it would work? Because we had the films back then, which they've got a lot of jokes that you probably couldn't do now. But then it went through more recently, and in the 2000s there was the Scary Movie films, and which weren't very good. If they did it now, would it be tried to be too sort of blatant, or just the comedy would just be too...
Well, you just have to look at when they made things like Date Movie. I always go back to Date Movie. The ones they made last were full of pop culture references that are not going to age well. The
Zucker films, Abrams Zucker films from back in the day were more broadly about genres and cultural references.
Yeah, they didn't go there. They went, let's take on all of that.
But also, Police Squad and Naked Gun was more broadly just cop show, which is pretty broad and lasts for quite a long time. It's not too specific, which is why it worked.
Well, you think as simple a gag as the one on Naked Gun with Ed, there's something in the corner of your mouth.
Yeah.
I can't see anything being made today being that simple and that is that effective.
Yeah, it's almost like they'd be trying to push a joke too much that they forget that a very simple joke can work better than anything else that's too over the top.
And that's what this Top Secret was. It was one after the other, after the other, after the other of these little jokes.
They weren't forced too much.
No, it wasn't the, huh? Look at this, how funny is that? Let's go for the close-up. Whereas back then it was just keep throwing them.
Yeah. So maybe it's a bygone era. We'll enjoy those films from back in the day. Comedy is very, very tricky to do. You either like it or don't, really.
Well, if you want to go back to a simpler time and you want to enjoy a comedy, I mean, the Zucker stuff is where to go, basically. Yeah. It's not flying high, but it's better than the shit that they make today.
Good luck, kind sir, and God be with you.
Wait. You dropped your funny dog poo.
What funny dog poo?
Souvenirs, novelties, party tricks.
If you enjoyed that blast from the past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications for when the next one comes down the line. I'll always call it Flying High.
Oh, yeah, because that's what it's always been here.